Okay. Everybody, this is Deborah Owen, and I'm from Einstein's Secret, and I am really excited today to be able to present to you Mike Koenigs. He is a three-time #1 best-selling Marketer of the Year winner. He's an entrepreneur, filmmaker, speaker, philanthropist, and he even has a patent. He's the CEO of a couple of his own companies like Traffic Geyser and Instant Customer, and he helps people with marketing and simplified marketing for all kinds of small businesses, for entrepreneurs, authors, experts, speakers, coaches, and consultants all over the world. He's had the experience of working with some of the big names like Paula Abdul and Tony Robbins and Peter Diamandis and a bunch of other people. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm really happy that you could be here with us.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Deborah. Thank you.
Yeah, terrific. So let's, if you wouldn't mind, just by telling us very briefly a little bit about how you got into what you're doing right now and how you got to where you are in your business right now, just to give us a little background.
Okay, yeah. Well, I've always loved technology and movies and music and computers. And when I was 14 years old, I taught myself how to program. And it was very quickly after that, my dad started telling people that I like computers, and I started picking up consulting gigs. And every single time I'd go into an office, at first it was like I was just teaching secretaries how to use their word processor or a spreadsheet. And this is back in the early 80s. So this is going back quite a while ago,
Yeah.
long before there was an internet. And I also was an early adopter. So I started experimenting with MIDI or electronic music and some of the very first video equipment, and this is back before digital video editing even existed, but I ended up getting one of the very first digital editing systems that still used tape.
Wow.
And one thing led to another, and pretty soon I was developing video games, and all these things that seemed completely disconnected started to connect. And I ended up starting an advertising agency, so a marketing agency called Digital Cafe in Minneapolis in 1989, sold it in 1999. And then I really got interested in what was going on with the internet. And I had been playing with the internet since about 94, 95, back before there was really any browsers. So I was using the very first browsers and watching what was going on. And I got really interested in this idea of direct response marketing and creating products, and I started seeing people that were selling ebooks online and making hundreds of thousands of dollars doing it.
Yeah.
And I had some friends in the music industry and also in the information business. I started modeling them, and when I moved to San Diego, I met a woman named Ariel Ford who had worked for Deepak Chopra as a publicist for 12 years. And she was talking about leaving the industry. And she was like the person that Deepak and Wayne Dyer and Don Miguel Ruiz and Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, and tons of other, actually 11 #1 New York Times bestselling authors, they went to her to get on Oprah.
Oh, wow.
And they went to her to get seen and known all over the place. But she said she wanted to leave the author business. And I said, well, that would be a shame because you know so much stuff. I said, how much of what you know do when you consult with people, do you repeat yourself over and over again? She says, I repeat myself 85 or 95% of the time. It's always the same thing. It's always the same challenges people have.
Kind of like a teacher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I said, I've got an idea, Ariel. What if you came over to my garage, which was my studio. Okay, my studio/garage. I guess I probably would have said studio, and then when she showed up, it was a garage. But anyway, no, not really. It was always full disclosure. But I said, what if you came over and I would record everything you know about publicity, publishing, promotion, and building a platform, which is what people in the publicity business call working with authors and speakers and coaches and consultants. And I'll turn all that into a product, and we'll take your best press releases, your best information, your best stuff that you already have. We'll turn it into a product. I'll do all the work. I'll write the sales letters. I'll run the business, and I'll give you half the money. And she goes, let's start tomorrow.
Wow, that's
right?
great. Yeah.
Yep. Well, that ended up being one of my very, very first product that I ever created, which was called Everything You Should Know About Publicity, Publishing, Promotion, and Building a Platform. And simultaneously, I was experimenting with online video marketing, and I had been modeling the television infomercial. And I had this, what I thought was a genius idea, and I thought I'll create the Internet Infomercial Toolkit. And what we did is I had a partner at the time, and he and I built a toolkit and a whole information product about how to market with video. Now, this was in about 2004, a year before YouTube came to life. So when YouTube got online, of course, everyone wanted to know, how do I make money with video online? How do I make money with YouTube? I was already there. So I started speaking and presenting and doing a lot more video marketing. And I noticed that whenever you'd start putting video online, the search engines loved it. And I thought, wow, if I could automate putting video online, and at that point, as soon as YouTube started up, there were a lot of knockoffs and competitors that started popping up as well. So I made a tool that would not only distribute to YouTube, but go out to about, first there were 5 sites, then there were 10, then there were 20, then there were about 50. And that's what Traffic Geyser was. So basically, all I started doing is just paying attention to what was around the corner or on the horizon and building tools to automate that process and sold them along with how to do it. And that's what introduced me to information marketing. And right now I'm celebrating, this is our 8th year in business with Traffic Geyser and Instant Customer, which is basically a mobile marketing and email marketing platform that automates marketing and lead generation. So, and we've now supplied and provided services to over 30,000 people in over 60 countries worldwide, and enjoyed a lot of success along the way. So I know that probably went a little bit longer than you probably were looking for, but it does tell the story.
That's great. That's great, because what I hear you saying is that you took what you knew, and you observed what was going on around you, and you tried to put the two together. And honestly, that's what we, if we want our students to be creative, that's really something that we want them to be able to do, is take what they already know and learn something new and then figure out what the connections are.
That's right.
So this wasn't on my list of questions, but it comes to mind. Where do your creative ideas come from? Because that's one of the things that's impressed me so much. Is I heard you speak last summer, and I've followed you online a bit, and that's one of the things I'm so intrigued by. Is you just keep coming up with these ideas. I mean, where do they come from?
Well, I'll tell you, I have a philosophy. We call it the hero marketing principle, and so I'm going to answer your question, and then I'm going to give you a model that's replicable, so anyone can follow it, and then I'll get a little bit specific. Is that okay?
Sure, sounds great.
Okay. So the answer is I get all of my ideas from observing my customers and having them tell me what they want next. And there's a very important aspect to this, and that is what people say they want and what they need are always two different things. If they knew what they needed, they'd already have it. Okay? But the clues exist in what they want and also what their buying behaviors have been and also what the current trends are. So and if you look at Apple, for example, when the tablet came out, when the iPad came out, no one knew they needed one of those, but now almost everyone you know has got a tablet because they're doggone useful, right?
Right.
And it's turning the entire publishing industry over on its head. It's turning the entire educational industry over on its head. In most higher-end schools, most kids are either given or use a laptop or a tablet now, and we're going to see that more and more. So the model that I use is something called the hero formula, and the basic idea is the reason people buy is because they hope for something.
Okay.
So someone may say, I wish I could build my business and make 2 or 3 times more money than I do right now. I hope I could somehow become significant or relevant enough that I would have an opportunity to be on TV or get interviewed in a magazine or have someone ask me to write a chapter in their book.
Okay.
I wish that some of the great work that I'm doing would somehow get recognized so I would receive an award or a reward or get acknowledged. And look, we all want that in a relationship with our significant other, but it also matters when it's public because when you are acknowledged and recognized, when you show up in the media, your value increases. It multiplies. Your position then as an authority and an expert. Okay? And being the trusted authority means people will pay 3, 5, 10, or 100 times more for your advice than they would from someone else.
Right.
Okay? Even if your advice isn't as good as someone who's less known, your elevation, your positioning matters more than anything else. So in our model, we begin with hope, and then we follow up with inspiration. In other words, I want to inspire you with stories of transformation of other people just like you who've done it before and achieved great things. And then in your marketing, you motivate someone to cross over the line and actually invest in your products or your service.
Okay.
So again, we start with hope. We move to inspiration with stories of transformation. Then we go to motivation. We motivate someone to invest. The fourth process is when someone actually implements and gets results. We call that the transformation. And historically, this is modeled after something that Joseph Campbell teaches, which is the hero arc, the hero story. Poor boy grows up in a small town. He overcomes incredible barriers and borders. He loses his hand in battle, and then he still manages to rescue the princess, and they live happily ever after and make great babies, and then he becomes the king, and he's the, anyway, the human brain loves that, okay?
Right.
It's because it's the way we live and we die. It's the way we eat. It's the way we achieve procreation. It's all follows a hero arc. It's something that's programmed deep within us. But there's a fifth element to this, something that's incredibly important, and that is in order for the story to be transferred on and move on, so your business goes viral, your book goes viral, your fame and your value elevates, other people need to talk about you. They need to teach what you teach, or at least seed other people with these ideas. So they're like, oh my God, that person, that Deborah, she really is smart, okay? She really is the one. I want to follow her too.
Right.
That's what we call transcendence.
Okay.
That's when your customers actually transcend to become your promoters. So the model then, again, is hope, inspiration, motivation, transformation, transcendence.
That's a great model, and actually that plays right into one of the questions that I was going to ask you. You are a great storyteller, clearly, which is a big part of communicating ideas. And I'm just going to kind of take this wonderful arc that you just described for marketing and telling stories and kind of segue that into, how does this, since we are talking about social media as well, how does that play into social media, or how can you use social media to help tell that story?
Sure. Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you another model. So just to complete the promise of the last module, basically everything we do revolves around the hero model. So when I'm marketing, when I'm creating products, I look for people who are using our products, who are experiencing a transformation, and I tell their story to inspire and motivate other people to invest in our products, okay? Mm-hmm. And those people are used as examples, and I give my own customers the opportunity to teach and become famous. I literally make my customers famous. I put them on my stage. I celebrate their success. I give them awards publicly. I acknowledge them. We give them prizes. And by being able to teach, it actually significantly elevates their value. And my other prospects say, I wish I could have that too.
Of course.
So that's the storytelling mechanism. So right now, for example, how do we use this? Well, right now, we could be broadcasting this live. So I'm going to give you another model to answer your question. Okay, and we call this the multicasting model, multicast marketing. So we could start out, and right now, you and I could be broadcasting this live on the internet, whether it be audio or video. We could be using some free tools. Mm-hmm. Like we could, for example, be using a Google Hangout. We could be using a private system like GoToWebinar and invite people to attend it. And we could do a slideshow. We could do a video. But right now, Google Hangouts, YouTube Live allow us to broadcast our message live on the internet to as many connected devices as there are, which are in the billions right now.
Right.
Okay? So the mechanism is there, but in order for that to be relevant, we need some form of distribution. Distribution is key, and historically it's been owned by big media, by big business. And we're talking about book publishers, for example. If you had a book idea, well, you had to go get an agent, and they represented you, and then you'd maybe get an advance, and then a year and a half or 2 years later, your book would actually hit the bookshelves. Well, nowadays, You and I right now could take this interview, we could chop it up, and again, we could be presenting or performing this live as a live cast for all the world to see, but then we can also chop it up and put it in a podcast. Okay, so that podcast could in turn be distributed on iTunes, which has over 1 billion podcast subscribers right now, for free, so people could take us and put us in their pockets and either listen to or watch us, or in fact we can even attach a PDF file, a transcript, and they can be reading us.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty powerful, and it's free. Okay, and again, there are billions of mobile connected devices that can access that, and right now podcasting is threatening the very existence of radio and television, all forms of it. Cable's terrified of this right now because the ordinary Joe can make a television quality show with a couple $100 worth of gear compared to someone who's in a multi-million-dollar studio and dependent upon tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in distribution equipment and syndication gear, and dependent on advertisers and all sorts of complicated stuff. In other words, it's being disrupted fast.
Right.
Okay. So the third channel that we can broadcast to is what we call bookcasts. We could take that same transcript, slap a cover on it, upload it onto Amazon right now, press a button, and in less than 24 hours, that would be available as a Kindle book and even a printed book for free to you and me. In other words, Amazon will actually pay us and market and advertise us and distribute us to billions of potential customers free of charge to help us build our platforms.
It's pretty overwhelming.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing that we can do is we can mobile cast that content. In other words, right now, I could tell people, for example, I could say, hey, look, if you're listening to us or watching us right now and you'd like a copy of this transcription, well, I'd love to give it to you for free. Just text your name and your email address right now to this phone number, and you will receive a copy of this and a transcript, and I'm also going to give you a copy of my book for free.
Right.
How would that intrigue you? Okay, so that's the process of what we call mobile casting. And then the last on this is we want to social cast. And this is the crown jewel of distribution because, in the past, what I built Traffic Guys around is this idea. We didn't call it mobile casting then because it was brand new. But what you do is you'd upload the audio or the video into Traffic Guys. You'd click a button and we'd distribute it to video sites, social media, social networking sites. We'd put it on blogs. We'd podcast it for you. It'd be an all-in-one, one-click distribution. And so the idea of what if your video, your article, your content got sent to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, to God knows how many other social bookmarking sites that you may or may not have ever heard of before. Like I said, that's the crown jewel of distribution. And ultimately, by sharing your message of expertise, because every single person that you communicate with, and I know, all have a message. We all are experts in our own world. We're all potential authorities if you are positioned and framed properly. And if you have the right number of followers, we'd say, hey, look, if you'd like more, come to my website. I'd love to give you a free chapter of my book or a free trial of my training program. You can see for yourself if you like it. If you like it, you can have a discount on it today. And that way we introduce them to our products or services and give them an opportunity. Now, after they already know, like, and trust us at no risk whatsoever, they've been able to, again, listen to us, view us, connect with us on every device imaginable. And right now, over 60% of all phones that are being sold are smartphones. In fact, old school phones aren't even going to be available any longer within probably 18 months.
At this point, yeah.
Hardly are. They're hard to get. Okay? So that's essentially the vision. And again, the model of distribution is what we call multicasting, which is create once, distribute everywhere on every device in real time or in virtual time, meaning you can access it at any time at your discretion. And again, it's sort of like right now, if you've got an Apple TV connected to your TV, you could be listening to me in your car on your iPhone that's plugged in to your radio, walk out, plug in your headphones, and continue listening, walk into your home, press a button, and it gets sent to your Apple TV and projected in high-definition video right from your phone to your TV set, and you can watch. It's like listen, watch, read any device anywhere, and there's no cost to you. No wonder the
Yeah.
radio and the television and the movie industry, they're shaking in their shoes because distribution's the only thing they've had. Okay?
Wow. And I have to say, Mike, I think that was the thing when I heard you speak this summer that blew me away. And I know I wasn't the only one in the room who had never heard it put quite so articulately as you just did and as you did this summer. But I mean, clearly that is the power of social media. And as you say, if you have a message, if you have something to share, if you have something that will help change people's lives and make their lives better, I mean, clearly we should be involved in all of these avenues.
I agree, and the fact is there is absolutely no resistance any longer or friction in this. In other words, right now, like I was doing this weekend, I was training and teaching one of our masterminds, and I did this actually on stage last weekend. I got up on stage, I said, "Hi everyone, I'm going to introduce you to the future of creating and distributing content. In fact, I'm doing it right now." As I'm doing this, I'm wearing a little microphone that's plugged into my iPhone, and when I'm done, I'm going to make this speech available to you so you can watch it, you can read it, you can view it at any time on any device, and it's free. How would you like that? And they're like, holy cow, it blew them away because I just have this little microphone on my lapel, and I'm literally making a podcast using my phone with a piece of software that costs $3 and a $60 microphone.
Yeah.
So you could literally be, my wife's leaving for Uganda next week. While she's there, she's going to be podcasting from Uganda, again, in high definition, because all she's got to do is take her little USB drive to a coffee shop to upload it. And, nowadays, you can get full-on high-speed internet right from your phone overseas for cheap.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And 5 years ago, when we'd go there, only a chief in one chief in the village would have an old school Nokia phone. Now there are kids walking in the ditches on Facebook, and they're walking up to me saying, "Hey, what's your Facebook address? I want to follow you."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
These kids, that's their lens to the entire world. They're getting their educations on their mobile smartphones, and somehow they can afford it.
Right.
Okay, and they literally will walk 5 kilometers to plug into a public solar panel charger because they don't have electricity in their village, but they got mobile phones
But they've
because it's
got mobile
life and
phones.
death.
Yep. That's their connection to the greater world.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. So, listening to you here describe what's going on right now, here and now, what kinds of skills should our high school and college graduates really be focusing on and fine-tuning in order to be ready for that kind of a workforce, particularly as far as social media goes?
Sure. Well, again, I'm going to answer that from a strategic vision first, and then I'll get into specific skills. So,
Okay.
First of all, what the world needs more than ever right now are entrepreneurs, innovators, and problem solvers.
Right.
Very few of which are being taught in most educational institutions, and it's my opinion that our government, meaning the United States government, and most governments abroad are basically creating sheeple. They're pumping out consumers and a dependency class.
Ah, yes.
And as there's a great book I highly recommend everyone reads called Whatever Happened to Penny Candy by Rick Maybury, Maybury. Whatever Happened to Penny Candy explains what's been going on in our financial system, the creation of basically fake money and no value. And one of the concepts that they describe there is there's no such thing as a free lunch. And going back to 2,000 years ago or longer, politicians and governments have been devaluing money for a long time, which is just a way for them to steal money from our system, okay, by either debasing, creating inflation. You're saying, what does that have to do with social media? Here's what it has to do with. If you want to protect yourself, if you want to become valuable, well, then working at a fast food restaurant and expecting to get paid $40,000 a year and get free healthcare insurance is insane.
Right.
Okay? That job has no value. Okay? That may sound coarse and harsh. Instead, what you want to do is find ways to create, to manufacture, and manifest wealth. which means adding genuine value. That comes from problem solving
Right.
and innovating and creating new products, finding ways to inspire and motivate other people just like you to solve the world's biggest problems, like power problems, clean water, creating food in a environment, let's say an urban environment. It's helping other people get off of welfare, whether it's corporate welfare or it's off of government welfare, and actually have the dignity and self-respect to add value, to create their own business and make a difference in their communities, to teach and to educate and to get paid what you deserve, to become filthy rich, because when you're filthy rich, you can help and support a lot more people. If you're
true.
poor, you can't squeeze a quarter into the church collection basket as you're there, okay? It's a lot better when you can write out a check for $100,000 that transforms the lives of 10,000 children,
Right.
okay?
Right.
So, having said that, the kinds of things that have value right now are, like I said, it's clean water, clean power, finding great ways of being able to grab a whole bunch of people and educate them rapidly and teach them some skills so they can create great products. I personally think that crowdfunding is one of the most incredible new ways to create products, create awareness, to market and promote. And there are people right now that, and the two sites that are really worth checking out, there's a lot more, but go to Indiegogo and Kickstarter.com.
Right.
There you can see people who are inventing, putting ideas up. All they do is make a little video and say, I need $50,000 to create some of these products, and if you donate some money, you're going to get the first generation one at a discount, because when I come to market, it's going to cost twice as much. And so that's effectively what's going on. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful new strategy. I think anyone who learns marketing, which means learning storytelling, and how is that? All you do is find businesses who are providing a high-quality product or service, and you help them share stories of transformation about how their products and their services are helping other people, and make videos about them, distribute them online, and charge for it. You can make money, and you can literally start your own consulting business, your own marketing consulting business in a week, and make a great living doing it.
Yeah.
Okay? And so those are just a couple examples. But right now, the United States is cranking out very few engineers. But if you're an engineer with marketing skills, you're worth 20 times more than a knucklehead engineer who's just great at math, okay?
And spends his free time doing video games.
And look, and it's all a matter of for what purpose.
Right.
If you take whatever you do, whatever your expertise is, and you learn storytelling and social media marketing, you're worth 10 or 20 times more than someone who just went in and got good grades. And I'm not saying this, this is nothing negative about school. I'm not saying school, there's nothing bad about it. I just think that there is a certain point, and a lot of folks who teach theory only, that has no value.
Right.
Implementation has value. This is why it's my opinion that if you're teaching something you haven't done, and it's been longer than 6 months since you did it, what you are teaching has no value anymore. Okay? I happen to think tenure in a college is evil. Just like I think tenure in our political system is evil.
Okay.
If you're not doing, then you shouldn't be teaching. That's just my opinion.
Okay, great. Wow, that's all powerful stuff, Mike. Thank you for that. And actually, you started talking about the kids who have nothing except their mobile phones, and that's kind of a good segue also into the last thing that I really wanted to ask you, which was I know you have a charitable organization, and one of the things that I really want to teach our students is that care and service is a big part of being online and using social media, and as you point out, transforming people's lives. Yeah, you tell the story of transformation, but it's all based in truth. I mean, these people's lives have changed, and so I would love to just give you a chance to just tell us briefly about that charitable organization that you have.
Sure. Well, I'll start with a little story because several years ago, it's actually 7 years ago now, my wife and I had a couple miscarriages. We have a boy who's 11 years old now, but we had a couple miscarriages, and she woke up in the middle of the night and said, I don't know why, but I need to go to Africa. And she's like, instead of having one more child here, maybe I could have 50,000 over there. And my wife is the daughter of Holocaust survivors. Both of her parents narrowly escaped with their lives from
Oh,
Nazi-occupied Yugoslavia.
okay.
And she said, I cannot live another day allowing a Holocaust to occur on the other side of the planet because I have no living relatives now because of what happened to my parents, and no one helped them. No one stood up and took care of them and helped them, although you could say the United States did, et cetera, et cetera. But at that
Eventually.
point,
Yeah.
individually, right,
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is her relatives are dead. So she and over there has been a Holocaust going on. 35% of the people in the community that she serves with their foundation now have HIV/AIDS, and the big enemy is the cycle of poverty, which is caused by orphans and a lack of education
Mm-hmm.
and a lack of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And once you've got HIV, it's a death sentence. And your children end up going to live with relatives and basically get treated like animals over there.
Okay.
So, make a long story short, she wound up traveling over to Senegal first, which is the gateway. It's the original gateway to slavery because that was where a lot of the slaves passed through. And she went
Right.
there
Right.
with a group of African American women. Here she is, a nice Jewish girl with 24 other African American women. But they all had something in common, which is where am I from, and who are my relatives. So there's a pathway. But she ended up going to Uganda, and she witnessed a baby girl who was being born, and that night the mother died, and she heard these horrible screams all night long. It was actually that girl's mother. So here they are left with this little baby. These Catholic nuns who have been delivering babies by kerosene lamp are feeding her glucose water in the morning because they can't afford the formula.
Wow.
And my wife had a philosophy, which is, the old teach a man to fish versus give a man a fish, right?
Sure. Sure.
So she's like, look, I'll pay for the formula now, but what can I do here that will make the biggest difference? And Sister Ernestine, who runs this place, is delivering these babies, says if we had electricity, we could actually refrigerate medicine, and the Ugandan government would allow us to dispense some drugs here with all these HIV positive people. So Vivian shot a little video, came home, distributed it with Traffic Geyser, got the attention of the media, shared the video with people we knew, and raised $30,000 over a period of 90 days, went back to Uganda, delivered that generator, and then started a foundation called the Just Like My Child Foundation, which since then has built 6 schools, a full hospital with operating room, got a grant from the Clinton Foundation for a CD4 cell analyzer, which basically means you can detect the HIV virus so the people can actually receive their ARV drugs.
Okay.
She's now supporting a community of 600,000 people and helping them start and build their own businesses.
Wow,
She
that's great.
partnered up with the Heifer Foundation, which is now delivering goats. These people can, raise goats. They have meat. They have milk. They can send their children to school. And literally in 3 years, you see an entire community completely transform. And girls' education, girls' justice program. So the bottom line is, it's called the Just Like My Child Foundation. And as of now, when we're recording this, she's literally leaving for Uganda next weekend.
Okay.
And while she's there, we'll be shooting video, distributing it on social media, and saving lives.
That's great.
So
That's
that's
great.
I think, what this is about.
Yeah.
As a success story, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to take care of your fellow man. And the greatest way we can ensure security in our country is to provide an opportunity for people just like you and me to start and grow their own businesses and be able to feed their families. Because if they aren't, they are susceptible to terrorists giving them money to strap on a bomb vest and walk into a public place in exchange for a little bit of food to feed their families, because desperate people do desperate things.
Right. If they have no hope.
Right.
Yep.
And that is, again, it all comes full circle around to the
Yep.
5 parts. It all begins
Yep.
with hope. That is what we live for as human beings. And we have a social and a moral obligation and a responsibility, I believe, right now, to create opportunities, to create and solve the world's biggest problems. And there is nothing that cannot be solved by smart, committed people who educate themselves and are willing to build opportunities for other people. You will be rewarded handsomely. You can become filthy rich. And like I say, with that wealth, you can save and transform not just in individual life, you got to start there, but tens and hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, this has been terrific, Mike. Thank you so much. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but this is very inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah, terrific. And I'm really looking forward to being able to share this with my students and teachers and with the people who will hear this and read this on the blog. I will make sure that it gets as widely distributed via social media as I possibly can.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to this conversation with Mike Koenigs. And I wish you all a great evening or a great afternoon. Thank you very, very much.